then. The text, oh fuck, I don't remember the end, but it's pretty much, it's a text where they're talking about the studies that have been made where they look at all the possible, they look at a lot of job descriptions, right? That's what they do. They like compile a list of job descriptions, and with that they look at current technological stuff that can be done, right? So how many of these jobs can be replaced is pretty much the question. And they find that with current technological know-how and whatnot, development and stuff, they can replace a lot of jobs. That's the point, right? It's just doable to do it. They don't say that it will be done, it's just it can be done. And then one like this article criticizes the methodology a little bit by saying that also there's a lot of aspects to this that they didn't look at, right? Economical aspects. I remember that. Note says, where's Skywalker? I don't know. He's somewhere around here. He'll probably not show up on camera for anymore. Because this new chair, if I don't replace it with the old chair, right? He does not enjoy just sitting straight in the lap. Oh, by the way, Nordrunner, I was meaning to ask you that there showed up a game in the Steam group. Was that a game for the group, or did you put it on my list specifically? Also, does it help the group if I play the game and review it? Is there like a statistic somewhere that people can look at and, oh, look at this. This group, when it gets a game, it does review it. Something like that? Nodon asks, does Skywalker like the new place? He loves it, yeah. Yeah, he had a rough summer, Skywalker. He did not. It was too hot and he got bored because it's kind of tiny and there was a lot of stuff. Now there's a full apartment for him to enjoy. And soon enough, he'll get a brother, adoptive son. I don't know. Another addition to the family, right? New cat. But he has really enjoyed it. So far, yeah. Definitely. Alright, but I think I summarized the paper pretty much. Right, and like that's the summary, right? What, looking at all of those things, what they states, alright, there's a lot of actual technological progress happening, and that raises fears, doubts, hopes of future working conditions in highly industrialized societies, right? They're talking about technical unemployments, which we get to. And my point that I often do in these type of contexts is that a problem usually with the fears is that they say that, oh, we need to have more jobs to have people in a working condition, right? Just to have people in working condition. And for me, inherently having a job is not good, right? It's just a job. It's something you do. It might be fun, it might be boring. Most of the times, I think most jobs are just boring and people don't really want to do them. It's about structuring society for people to get food and shelter and stuff like that, rather than having a job, right? If you got to choose, right? I give you your wage to either do whatever the fuck you want all day, every day, or you get the same wage to go to your job 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week. What do you choose? Right? Of course you choose, you do whatever the fuck you want. And that might contain going to said job, right? You might enjoy your job, but you would prefer the choice to be in your hands, right? Node owner says, so, the game developer sends a certain number of copies of games and people with access to the group can claim them. I would ask that you check with me to make sure they're not games I need before claiming them yourself. Yes, definitely. I will not claim any games then. Especially when there's one game, right? I'll let you claim all of them. Yeah. The 2 games that are there right now are fine to claim because I already have them. House Builder, First Job, and Vengeance. Alright. It's nice. Thanks for that information. So, and the second question, right? Does it benefit the group if I go in and play the games and review them? Is there like some metric that shows that the group has reviewed them that people care about, or... My thinking is that, right, when I play games, do I prioritize these games, House Builder and Vengeance, and give them reviews, just like Pizza? Why Pizza? That's my thinking. Is that a motivation or reason to play those games because it helps the group, or is it just personal benefit? Personal curiousness? That makes sense. Alright, so... Technical unemployment. New questions regarding the relationship between technological progress and employment. Here I come and gotta be the broken record and think about... What's it called? UBI, right? Actually, I want to go over there and see if I can... Do I fit over there better? Yeah, so we can see the text. Exactly, that's a little bit better. Alright, as sketched above, the study by Frey and Osborne provided an incredible stimulus to the scientific debate on technological unemployment. Right. It gave rise to various economic research strands, with researchers transferring their hypothesis to almost every developed economy in the world, and or developing alternative approaches to the questions of automatability. Right. Additional research dealt with the question of how to manage automation to ensure its benefits are fairly shared. Oh, a lot of socialism going around, I guess. Right. Node owner says, you don't have to prioritize them, and it doesn't help the group. We are not compelled or expected to curate any games, even if we get a free copy. The only thing that helps is you playing them and leaving a review to SteamDB, and that helps the whole Linux community. Right, there we go. So I'll just keep on doing business as usual then, and just pick a random game and leave the report on ProtonDB. That's what you meant, right? ProtonDB? A review on ProtonDB rather on Steam? That's not even... that considered a review? A report? I mean, not only says ProtonDB? Yeah, that's what I thought. He just wanted to make sure. Yeah, and soon enough, right? Anti-cheat. Steam pretty much went out and... Valve, I mean, pretty much went out and pretty much said that anti-cheat will no longer be a problem at the end of the year. They were very confident about that, which is interesting. It's a great time to be a Linux gamer, that is for sure. Yeah. I thought we had like a few years of great Linux gaming, mindshare and adoptment. Yeah, adopters. Like it's growing and growing, right? But this Steam Deck, oh man, this is Right? We've had so many game changers, and the Steam Deck is gonna be another game changer for gaming on Linux. Oh man, I love it, I love it. Although these studies deal with societal challenges, there is no clear vision for political action. Alright. Is there supposed to have a study with a clear vision for political action? That's not what a study is there for, is it? Clear vision for political action? That's not a job of a study per se, right? A study tries to tell us about how the world is, right? Vision for political action, that is what something should be done. So a study cannot do that. Well, I guess they can argue a little bit about it in the conclusions, right? They can give their own opinions. And that makes a lot of sense, right? Someone who studied the thing give their own opinions and conclusions. So I guess in these studies, then we can assume that the people who did these studies, they didn't know how to do whatever it is they want to do. Maybe? Notono says, I only add games to the curator that seem to work out of the box with the latest Proton. The games given by developers usually don't have enough data on ProtonDB to have a remote idea if it is working or not, so they often aren't added to the curator. Oh, right. So that is how I help the group, by adding that. But I can imagine that, right, since you do it first and I do it after, that would be, you would have to go back and check through them again, if you would want to use that. Actually, I suppose you could put a... You can probably get... what's that? Automated... You can probably automate that, right? Just looking at ProtonDB, right? Just send yourself a message when X number of reports are made on a game. Yeah, you can probably script that. Questions about future models of work can be asked, but often no policy decisions or options are suggested in this direction. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me, right? Because you're kind of skirting the line when you start bringing in too much opinion. Yeah, so this is usually what I want to see in a study. Yeah. I would want, like, opinions and arguments for and against opinions would be something like this. This is an essay, right? This text is not a study, it's an essay. Kinda. No. Let's put it that right? We've got quantitative studies and qualitative studies. Qualitative studies, if they are indeed called studies, then I'm not so sure I would call them that. I would rather call them essays or something along that line. Those are room for opinions and those types of arguments, while quantitative, right, you only do a statistical analysis of whatever it is you're testing. Notono says, I don't script it. I've thought about it, though. Notono says that the original scope for this curator was only to recommend games that were on the official Valve whitelist. That's easy enough. But after a while, with no whitelist updates, I extended that scope to recommend certain additional games that have enough data showing that they work out of the box. Right. My goal has never been to automate the curator, review every single game on Steam, or attempt to replace ProtonDB. Yeah. Oh no, it's a curator, right? It is, since you're a curator, it's games that work and that you recommend as a curator, right, Nodrunner? You would have to have played the game. That's what I meant, right? If you play a game and review a game that ends like, but you feel that there is not enough data, but you would want to put it on the curator. That's what you could have, like a script that monitors ProtonDB for that specific game. That is what I was thinking about anyway. Right. Large global consulting companies such as Boston Consulting, PwC, Deloitte, McKinsey have been also analyzing the impacts of automatability on the labor market and provided advice to companies and policymakers, however, without offering solutions for the replaced job losers. Yeah. I mean, in my mind, I think that a company as it works in current society, and actually I'm pretty happy with that, right? A company does a specific thing. They formulate a specific task, right? They create a product or a service or something like that. That's their main motivation, right? And I would actually prefer a society where the if we're thinking of project-based work, right? Where the company just focuses on this project and that's their singular focus. Right? And they don't really have to be... I would probably prefer that, yeah. That where they don't have to be responsible for job losers, right? I would put that as a society structure thing, right? That the job losers, putting that responsibility on the companies, I don't know, right? Like, just as a straight out thing, I don't think, right? We have that in Sweden. If I go to my job and I go and go and go, but then I get sick and I stay home for a week, I still get like 80% of my salary, even though I'm not doing anything. Just like vacation, right? You get vacation that the company pays for you to do vacation. I think that the company has to be responsible for the workers in this way is a symptom of a social structure that's not very good. Right? Because inherently how the companies work, as in current society, they don't want to do these things, right? They just want to generate money and create their product, right? They don't want to be responsible for the people. So I would argue that another type of social structure, a more robust social structure, instead of just setting a lot of regulation and just sitting like this to the companies, it's not working the best. And I think there are better ways to do it, like UBI, for example. Nodrunner says, I put games on the curator that I have never played. If they're popular and proven working. Oh, right. I get it. You can look at if it has a lot of reviews and they're all good. Like, let's say, for example, that you had never played Factorio. Actually, Factorio is native, though, isn't it? But like a type of game that has, what is it, 98, 97, 96% positives on Steam and hundreds of thousands of them, and it works out of the box, then that would fit on the curator, I suppose. Maybe? Not Owner says, also there's a limit of 1,000 reviews per curator. Oh, didn't know that. Although I've heard this limit may have been increased. It is not possible to review every game on the store. Oh, that makes sense, yeah. That makes sense. Not Owner says, I need to adjust my scope for each curator to fit around that 1,000 games mark. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that makes sense. Is it the scope? I mean, you can have the scope. I mean, you can review as a user and as a curator, right? Is that how it works? Yeah. Exactly, because you don't want to run out of games. And since you enjoy the thing, right, you don't want to reach that 1,000, well, that ever, however high that number is, you don't want to reach that number ever, right? Or maybe you do. You want to reach it and then you're done. Maybe? Alright, when Arndts et al. Revised Frey and Osborne's research and came up with drastically different conclusions, namely that only around 10% of US and UK jobs were under a high risk of automation. Yeah. Well, it's not drastically different conclusions. That's not what they said earlier in this text. Right? The whole point was that Frey and Osborne, they said that they could be, not that they were at a high risk of becoming. Right. Many researchers and policymakers had to review their statements, and new discussions and data analyses were disseminated. The following quotation shows well that the study has provided many impulses, both at a methodological level and regarding the evaluation of new technologies and their impact on employment. Not Owner says, yep, user reviews are another system, completely unrelated. Nice, yeah. Not Owner says, if I hit the point where I'm reaching the max limit of curator reviews, I have a lot of options. I could make another curator, refine my scope, wait for the cap to be increased. Alright, I'm thinking this way, right? Why does a person follow a curator on Steam, right? Why would it be the reason for? Right? If I'm following a curator, it is because my thinking is that what I want out of a curator is just a list of games that I'm gonna enjoy playing. Right? To my tastes. Right? It's Proton compatible, yeah, that's great and all, but it's also... Right? Like, I like progression games. We were talking about that earlier. I like progression games, for example, so I would assume... Well, I could have one curator just for great progression games, maybe. So it becomes a scope question, yeah. Interesting. Just make another curator, yeah. No, says, there is no Works on Proton icon on the game's store page. This is basically that. I can imagine that happening soon, though. Yeah. I can imagine that maybe even this, right? If it's, well, not native, But right, if it gets platinum or gold, maybe platinum gold, depending on how many there are, right? It would not surprise me if Valve implemented that in regards to with the Steam Deck, right? They would have to, right? Works on the Steam Deck. And if it works on the Steam Deck, it works on Proton. Not only says if they add that, add it to Steam itself, that would be great. Yeah, I would guess that is what will happen, right? Because people who buy games on the Steam Deck, right? There's gonna be a lot of people buying and then it not working on the Steam Deck, and then they refunding them.
Real horror show. It's very realistic. And you could even get the heavy breathing and panting of the tall-jumping mount chicks.
I can definitely imagine that. Actually, I'm curious. Have you thought about the sound today on the Steam? Is it better, worse, the same? Since last time I was streaming. It was a long time ago. I listened to it when I was at the other place, and this new place, I thought it sounded just fine. It's echoing, yeah. That'll take a couple of days. Right, it's echoey for me personally in the room. So I am gonna deal with that. I'm not 100% sure just how yet. But yeah, it will be dealt with, definitely. Maybe it'll be enough with just getting a lot of paintings up and whatnot, so it doesn't echo as much. Thanks though. Yeah, thanks. Alright. No, no, just put stuff in the room. Exactly. That's the plan, right? I have a bookshelf right over there that is just empty. It has to be filled with books, and that will reduce the echo-ness, right? And yeah, there's a lot of stuff that is still to be done before I'm moved in. Alright, the starkly contrasting results were explained by the shift from the occupation-based approach of Frey and Osborne to the task-based approach of Arndt, Gregory, and Ziran. PricewaterhouseCoopers, PVC, alright, examined both studies and developed their own methodology. Oh, nice, which not only linked the automatability of tasks that worker must perform, but also the education and training required of the workers themselves in order to do them. Man, I'm really interested in this stuff. Yeah, about that study, right? If they make this type of methodology about separating the jobs or the work or whatever, and then I could just add my own evaluation thing on that thing. If they manage to separate the tasks or the occupations or whatnot in a good way, that is a good data set, right? A list of different jobs or whatever. Yeah, that data set I definitely want my hands on. Node owner says if it's still not good, you can put up some sound dampening foam. Thought about that, yeah. Or you can hang a blanket or something. Yeah. I have a big, thick piece of cloth that I know that is just gonna get thrown on the trash if I don't hang it up. That would be fun. Oh, wow. I could do like a big thick blanket like that, and that could be That could be created into an art piece. I'm not an artist per se, but I could get like paints and whatnot and just start painting on the thing and have guests paint on the thing and... Or maybe just foam. I don't know. There's plenty of solutions to be doing. Oh, here's a raid, boys. Hello, Missy Tova. We're doing emo stuff. Yeah, listening to emo music. Talking about occupation. How was your stream and how are you doing? We're talking about work and automation. Reading about it. From Phil Archive. Great webpage. I just found it the other day. Right. This means that many more people are now involved in the debate. Yeah, it's becoming more and more in the public eye. That is great. This debate, it's a great... Sauteed Mushroom says, hello man, I'm back. Oh, nice. Oh, you missed it. You missed that game we played before. We played a game called Muck. Gonna play that tomorrow as well. And that game is about collecting a lot of mushrooms. Welcome back. Missy Tova says it was good. Nice. Raid! Raid! Hello again, Lynx, it's me now. Nice to see you again. We're reading about automation and work. The thing I was talking about yesterday, yeah. This article. Alright, and it becoming more and more a thing in the public debate, which is great, because I'm pretty sure that the more this becomes in the public eye, the faster we will get to universal basic income. And I do love the idea of universal basic income. Right? I even spent a couple of days, just a couple of days ago, yeah, in the beginning of the week, I spent a couple of days just looking for arguments against universal basic income. And none were convincing to me. So if you have any arguments against universal basic income, I would be super happy to hear them. Yeah. Because I'm super blinded by that idea. Kid says, I ended up playing a bit myself and challenged Big Chonk. Nice. Big Chonk. Nice. Yeah, I can imagine, right? Just playing once was a little bit too little, right? Playing it for maybe a few hours is a lot of fun. We were playing, what's it called? Muck, yeah. Big Chonk. Did you find the boat? Ask it. Right. There are not only economists proposing and testing different models and presenting new concepts, but also consultants, think tanks, and policy advisors who provide input as well. Yeah, all good stuff. Even though I guess a lot of them I do not agree with what they think. But that's fine. Right. The well-known MIT economists Ekimoglu and Restrepo, I've never heard of them, have been working intensively on this topic over the last years. I'm not an economist though, so it's no wonder I haven't heard of them. Right, their hypotheses, models, and research conclusions contributed to the debate on automation and its impacts on the labor market in regional and national settings. Alright, what did they contribute then? I feel like this text, the essay I'm reading right now, it is a lot of this, right? They're saying, like, they're spending this whole sentence in just saying, alright, they impacted the... no. They contributed to the debate. That's a long sentence for saying that. And they've said that about a lot of texts, right? This is not really helping me, the reader, to understand anything new about the debate. Right? This either, right? All this is kind of redundant information. I don't need all this stuff, right? I can even say as much as, since you name them, right, and their studies, all of this can be assumed because this is what the paper is about. Essay is about the contributing factor to this very debate. So I could assume that if you mention them, they have contributed. Otherwise, why would you? Just putting extra words for the sake of having extra words. Just for having me read more. So, all right. Recently, they argued that some automation technologies may in fact reduce labor demand because they bring displacement effects, but modest productivity gains. Especially when substituted workers were cheap to begin with, and automated technology is only marginally better than them. Yeah, right. But this is new. We talked about this like 2 days ago, I think, about the thing, right? Automation, right? If we look at it as an economist, and they mentioned that as well, right? That if you have the cost, right? It's an upfront cost, but let's say the overall cost for a machine. Give a second here. I need to see myself to do this, right? So I'm in the camera. Right? If the overall cost for a machine doing some type of job for a number of years is this cost, and then you have this cost, the similar cost it would if it would be the same to pay a human to do that same work, then you would not replace the human with the machine because of the upfront cost and the changes, right? You would have to change structure and everything like that. So, however, when the prices change and the human becomes more and more expensive and the machine becomes more and more cheaper, sooner or later you will reach a threshold where the replacement will happen. It would make business sense, right? And they made that argument before, and I've made that argument before as well, so I don't think this is really anything new, right? Note owner says, I have noticed a lot of political changes. While having good intentions almost always result in some level of hidden side effects. Yes, definitely. It is one thing to meticulously consider every angle and completely another to actually put things into practice. Indeed. Sadly, bureaucracy is not flexible enough to admit their mistake and go back to the way things used to be. Instead, from my experience, they just deal with the side effects and generally ignore the damage it causes. I think I agree with you, but I don't see that as an argument of going back to how it used to be, because when you have made the change, like when you make sweeping changes, you have made sweeping changes, right? It is difficult to change back. I think the problem is like the political changes, that the changes are too big, right? You make something completely new, right? Get rid of the old and replace it with something new. And like you said, right, it is inevitable that there will be a lot of side effects and unforeseen consequences of that type of thing happening. Right? That's one of the reasons I usually say, right, in regards to political stuff, right, that I'm not impressed when people want to tear stuff down and replace stuff, right? That's a lot of communist rhetoric. I was super disappointed with the Communist Manifesto when reading that, for example, right? Because that was only about tearing stuff down. And that's not impressive. What I want to see is a goal, like let's call UBI a goal, and then small steps towards that goal, because these side effects, when they happen, right, you can make adjustments. If you just make small improvements to current systems, then these side effects might not be so severe, and you can deal with them, right? You can make changes depending on, right? You can learn new stuff and adapt the ideas. Yeah. And that, I think that is changing. I think we were talking about that before as well, right? A couple of days ago. About politicians more in the past were like holier than thou, right? They were not allowed to make any mistakes or anything like that, right? I think that stigma still persists. And that is probably a big reason for this unflexibility. And the more we see them as human and accept that stuff will go, right? As soon as we accept Murphy's Law as truth, that stuff will go to shit, whatever we do. We can build a flexible system where we just make small changes and hope they, right? Then we learn if they make stuff better or worse. That makes sense? Nodorno says, I think the way at which technology is advancing is hopefully slow enough that people can adapt to new jobs. Yeah, I mean, I think so, yes, but we're talking about just having people fitting in the new jobs, and that's one aspect of this, right? There's what happens, and they pointed that out, right? With automation is that there's a lot of low skill and dreary work, right? It's like in the middle, right? People gets pushed to high skill, high creativity, high knowledge-based jobs, right? Yeah, what was it? Dexterity, creativity, and just schooling, right? It becomes more and more jobs like that, because like my example was, for example, making a web page, a cool web page 20 years ago, right? You would need to do HTML, JavaScript, and all that stuff, right? Nowadays, you can go to a website that creates websites. Right? You can just pick and choose what you want it to look like. So it becomes easier to make a website. So making a website, you got low skill jobs and then super high skill jobs, because you have the people that do the website that makes websites, right? That's more difficult than just making a website. So the people here in the middle, those are the jobs that are mostly affected, right? And my hope is that technology is gonna, right? That is what happens, right? But at some point, right, this gap is gonna come to a place where all these menial, boring jobs, actually people like making websites, so that's maybe a bad example, but the stuff that people don't want to do, that is low skill and low schooling and whatnot, that all those jobs in the future can be automated. That is my hope anyway. So then it becomes adapting to the new jobs, the high skill, because they become higher and higher skill, right? They become more and more difficult. That means more and more schooling. Yeah. Nodon says, making websites sucks. It's a ton of effort for little pay. Alright, I'm not talking about how much money the job pays. I'm just talking about doing it, right? There might be people who really love to make websites, right? That's their passion in life. I'm talking of that type of value, not monetary value. That makes sense? Right, even if we can automate it and make it super easy to make websites, the only thing that's left is the thing that people find fun, enjoyable, I guess. And that is the creative part, right? Designing the website. And people can enjoy that, right? Designing the website, it's one thing. Designing the website, it's another thing completely to program it. HTML is boring as fuck. I've tried to make a website for myself. at times, but it's, yeah, a lot of effort and not very fun. Oh, that was a little bit annoying. But I suppose the high scaling skilled stuff, right? I don't think it can create a bottleneck, right? Where we might not be able to adapt, but that will just create a bottleneck, right? That won't fuck us over. That's just a bottleneck for how fast we can adapt, right? The technology might be there, but we don't have people to do the jobs, therefore it will take slower, right? Maybe it'll take... I don't know. Take some new technology. VR, for example. Let's take... we're still in early adopters, right? It's just the speed of progress, right? Because we are learning more and more in school, right? That is increasing. That's the trend, right? Like, just look at my knowledge and know-how, or the average person. The average person, how much they know about technology today compared to 200 years ago. Or 50 years ago, right? It is increasing in the general population, I think. Notice that robots are not replacing human jobs. They are sometimes cheaper, sometimes more efficient alternative to humans. Yeah, I mean, they're replacing the tasks, right? A human is making one task, but a robot is doing the exact same task. But of course, it's not a one-to-one replacement. And they have made that argument, right? They made that argument in this text as well, right? That's one of the big criticisms against Frey and Osborne, right? That they were looking at jobs, and that doesn't really work, because if you look at the tasks, just what tasks can a robot do and what tasks can a person do? And that, I mean, I think everybody is agreed with this, that all the numbers they come up with in these studies, right? Yeah, and that's what they're saying, right? It's about methodology, right? There has been a lot of discussion about methodology. How do we study this? Nobody has figured out a good way to study it. But they're making improvements on how to study it and come to some sort of statistical numbers that can be useful. But at the moment, the numbers themselves are not really useful. Nodonor says, we have the option for each possible task to consider if a human or a robot would be better in that spot. Yeah. And in my value judgment, right, how I look at stuff is, if there is a human who enjoy to do the task, that is one metric for me, right? There are others as well, but if we're looking at low-skilled jobs, not the high-skilled ones, but if we look at the low-skill ones, if a human prefers to do it, then that is one big reason for a human doing it. But if the humans do not enjoy doing it, then I would prefer a robot doing it. That makes sense? And that you can look at, right? Statistically speaking, like, how many people enjoy doing this? Right? And it's not one-to-one there either, right? Right? For example, I could replace McDonald's with purely machines, right? But I wouldn't like a 5-star restaurant. That's not really the same, right? It's not even task of cooking, right? It's not that easy either. Another says, what if life isn't entirely about pleasure seeking? Good point, right? When I say enjoy, I think of this. I'm thinking this, right? I'm thinking that people, and this as well, grain of salt, just as a thing, right? But like, people wants to be up here and do stuff, right? And that's not necessarily about enjoyment. Like, take meditation, for example. Meditation. I don't really enjoy meditation, but I try to do it anyway. So, enjoyment was a bad word. A want? If a human wants to do it. Maybe that's what I'm looking for. Not on a continued. Maybe the fact that some people enjoy a task doesn't matter. I completely disagree with that, yeah. If, let's say it's time to mow the lawn. I don't see any reason why a person would mow the lawn instead of a robot if the person don't get something out of it, right? Maybe they do it as a means of exercise, right? Because it's good exercise, it's good for you, and they want to do it for that reason. But if you hate mowing the lawn, then you can get your exercise some other way. So I think it definitely matters. Well, I want to live in a society where it matters. Right? I mean, what's the point of society if it's not to increase the well-being of humans? Right? What's the point of technological advancement if it's not for the sake of the well-being of humans? And I'm not talking about pleasure seeking here. I'm talking about, fulfilling, feeling healthy. Yeah. Health, enjoyment, improvement, whatever it is people are seeking, right? Because we are not only seeking pleasure. That's not how we work. Notoner says, sometimes your well-being is doing things that aren't things that you enjoy. Yeah, definitely. Definitely. But you see my focus, right? My focus is on that thing. On stuff that is for your well-being. I mean, mowing the lawn can lead to greater well-being. It can be that, but that is because of exercise. And you can get exercise a million different ways. Right? So why should we have as a goal that a person should be doing it if people can get their exercise some other way? Right? It's about freedom of liberty, right? Freedom of choice, kind of. That. And also, right, your physical well-being. Another reason, right, is if we can build a society where the choice is completely up to you to, right, kill yourselves with heroin, sitting on your ass playing video games all day, and live until you're, 40? And then die because of all the ill health, and that is what you want to do? Should society tell you that no, you have to go out and mow the lawn? Or should society just encourage you, go out and have some exercise? Notoner says, like trucking. It is one of the most dangerous jobs in America. However, a lot of people really enjoy it. maybe it's better for their well-being to get them out of the dangerous career, even if it's not what they enjoy. Yeah, that's a very good example. Because it's dangerous, but it's not only dangerous for the truckers, right? It is dangerous for other people on the roads as well. So that becomes an extra interesting added element to it. Right? Because I would say, from my point of view, right? I would say, right? Have trucks that are run by machines, right? They can just drive. Self-driving cars, great stuff. But for the people who do like trucking, right? They should still be able to do it, right? Because I'm looking at the well-being of people, right? But the problem then becomes, well, it will become, I think, in 100 years from now, assuming continued technological advancement, it would not be ethically okay to drive a truck because you would put people in danger because of the self-driving trucks would be so much better at driving. So in traffic, you would be a danger and that would not be allowed. So trucking then, if you enjoy it, and here's where I want to come, right? If you enjoy trucking, then that is a hobby. You don't have to do it for the benefit of society, right? You can build a lot of roads that the automated trucks don't use, and you do the trucking on those racetracks or something like that. Think of horse riding today. Horse riding for the longest time was a big part of society, right? You used it to move goods, move people, move letters, right? All that stuff horses was used to. But nowadays, horse riding is pretty much not everywhere yet. It is still being used, but mostly it's just a hobby. And trucking can be a hobby in the same way. It doesn't have to be a job. Right. Assuming that automation can replace that task, it doesn't have to be a job, it can just be a hobby. And I think that's fine. Like I said, I would prefer the truckers driving their trucks as a hobby rather than the threat doing it for these reasons. Trucking can be done for these reasons. Physiological needs like food, water, wants and rest, right? The money. And safety and security. That is how it works today. That's a lot of people have a job for that reason. And like one of the big draws for me in UBI becomes we take those reasons away. Instead, you have your jobs because of prestige and feelings of accomplishment and friendships and relationships and self-actualization, right? However that looks, I don't want to tell you what to do. If trucking is your life's goal and that's how you self-actualize and feel accomplished in life, then that is what I think you should do. And I would prefer that over telling you that, oh no, you need to do trucking because you need food and shelter. So for me, right, that's where I come from. So therefore, enjoyment, actually, a bad word. Feelings matter. Let's call it feelings. Yeah, feelings. Physical feelings, mental feelings. Physical health, is that feelings, right? If you get a stomach ache, that's a feeling. So yeah, so feelings matter. And I want them play a bigger role in society.
I'm gonna miss you when you go.
All right. Note says, think of a Renaissance fair. People go to and do these things, but it's not the same as actually living back in those times. Yeah. We've turned the daily life of the past into a hobby. Yeah. That is great. That is great stuff. And I personally would want to give more and more people to do these things, right? Renaissance fair usually only happen once a year, right? And it lasts for what, a week? Maybe the people who really, really enjoy that, they can do it for a month. Maybe they can build a place. Well, those people exist though in your country, I know. They build everything with their hands. What are they called again? I'm just thinking of that movie Kingpin, when he milked the cow and come in with the mustache, but they don't have a cow, just a bull. That's so funny. Oh. No, I don't recall what they're called. Right? If they want to live like that, that is great stuff. Amish. There we go. Yeah, exactly. If the Amish wants to live like that, that is some great stuff. For them, I wouldn't want to. But if they want to, great stuff. Can live like that all year round. Can build towns that lives like the Renaissance fair. You can give more time to people to live how they see fit. Because down here it's very easy. Down here it's very easy. We can say what people need down here. But the further up you go on the needs of people, the less we can talk about it statistically. The more and more individualized it becomes. What a person needs, I can't say that, right? I need to express myself. Notice that. That is why I'm enjoying streaming, because I'm expressing myself and enjoying expressing myself. It's part of my needs, and how I express myself looks very different from how other people express themselves, right? Alright. Where were we? Right, recently they argued some automation technologies may in fact reduce... Alright, this was the cost argument again, yeah. Right, in other words, the automation of mass production, marginal capacity of technology compared to human labor, is the type of technology that can have major displacement effects, for example, through technological unemployment. Yeah. Yeah, and the same can be said for like standing on a factory and just being a cog in a machine. I can see, right? One argument that I've just kind of ignored, because being a cog in a machine, I can say like you can be a trucker as a hobby. There is one thing that is missing from that, something that people do want that we're pretty sure psychologically. It is this thing, the feelings of accomplishment. And maybe being a trucker, one thing that really makes it so amazing to be a trucker is the benefit that you provide to society. And let's say, just imagine, if you will, tomorrow 80% of all jobs are gone and people live on UBI and get time to do what they want. But we we don't have any room for people to contribute to society. We have the idea of fully automated communism, right? There is no room to benefit to society. Actually, I don't think it works though. Because benefiting to society would be just raising a child. That is benefiting society. Cooking your own food. Just cooking food, right? You're creating food. That is benefiting society. Making a painting that you and others enjoy, maybe some other people enjoy, maybe not. That is benefiting society, right? Yeah. We sitting around and talking about this is benefiting society. Because I am enjoying myself, and I am part of society. We have benefited society. Maybe? So maybe it doesn't work. But that's again, right? That would be one of those things that, right? If universal basic income happens fast, all the truckers that just sit at home with their UBI are gonna sit there and scratch their head like, what do I do now? There are no jobs for me, right? Like we were talking about high skill jobs being more and more difficult. But what if, like I said, the lower skill jobs just disappear completely? At the moment, there is not enough societal infrastructure for hobby making. Pottery classes, horse riding. There is no trucker races. That is a good argument for if we're implementing UBI, doing it like slowly. I'm kind of happy with the idea of pension. And you work and then you have your pension. And just thinking of that as a UBI, right? That is the money you get when you feel that you've worked enough, you get money. And then the political goal to reach UBI would be just to lower the age for when you can take your pension. Retire. That's the English word for it. Retirement. You just lower the age of retirement. Possible age of retirement, right? You can choose. Do you want to keep working, or do you want to retire? Just lowering that age year by year. And when we've lowered it a little bit too much, let's balance it out, and then we keep lowering the age of retirement. That would be one way to implement UBI, I think. A flexible way to do it. Just what I want to see is the actual attitude and goal towards it. Right. Another interesting conclusion of their analysis is that the net impact of automation on labor will depend on the broader labor market context. When wages are high and labor scarce, automation will generate a strong productivity effect and will tend to raise labor demand. That's a good point, right? The more we produce, the more jobs there are gonna be. So that's another way to implement UBI, right? If we want to go multiple routes to do it. Instead of having 8-hour workdays, let's do 7-hour workdays. Then 6.5. Then 6-hour workdays. Then maybe 4-hour work weeks. You get my point. That type of implementation sounds like it's probably the best way to do it. And that would, we would have more and more jobs, right? that benefits society. You can get that feeling from a job where you actually benefit society by having a job. A jobless society, I cannot imagine. That sounds very utopian, but I cannot imagine a society where there are no jobs. That seems stagnant. That's interesting because I was saying utopian, but now when I image it in front of me, I'm thinking of Wall-E, if you've seen that film. And that's a dystopian film, not a... Yeah, that's a dystopia, not a utopia. Because it's stagnant and people just sit on their ass and play video games all day. Which, I mean, I'm fine with people doing that, but I don't think it's good for mental or physical health. Right, when wages are low and labor is abundant, automation will bring modest productivity benefits and could end up reducing labor demand. Oh, they're talking about like a pendulum. It goes back and forth. That kind of makes sense to me. What time is it? Not lunchtime quite yet. Right, studies following the other line of inquiry. Arntz et al. And Björnolfsson and McAfee, all the names, tend to highlight the economic opportunities provided by technological development, citing weak positive effects or negligible negative effects on the total employment and chances of an upskilling of the workforce, as well as increased competitiveness, supporting strong employment. Yeah, some people look at the benefits, other people looks at the cons. It's good at looking at both things. Actually, like Nodron was saying about before, about consider the angles and putting it into practice. And I guess, like, since we have in our political changes, we have good intentions, usually both things happen, right? Positive consequences and negative consequences. Just a matter of reviewing and changing based on, right, trying to optimize for positive consequences and minimize negative consequences. And when the negative stuff, adapt to that. And when the positive consequences come, adapt to that. Embrace the positivity that comes out of it, right? Just because something is unforeseen doesn't necessarily make it negative. In summary, the scientific debate on the automation of work, job displacement, and human-machine interactions lead to the following conclusions. Oh, right, here we go. Oh, a long list of conclusions, here we go. Advanced automated systems can be applied to either worsen or improve working conditions. Well, that's a nonsense conclusion. Stuff will happen. No shit, Sherlock. Stuff will happen? Are you kidding me? I think this is a false binary. I think systems will be applied to worsen and improving working conditions. Both will happen. Right, humans seem to be better at dealing with unexpected events to keep production lines keep running. Yeah, I think we're a little bit too good at this. That's why I'm curious about the idea of making my own study, and with the pointless jobs. I don't know what to call them, but jobs that doesn't really help out society all that much. Because that is definitely one way to keep... let's say all the truckers get out of a job, they lose their jobs, then people will make up jobs. What's that called again? The dude that pushes the rock up for the mountain and then rolls it down again and then pushes it up again. We will create those kinds of jobs. Because we have. And keep on doing. Right, the interaction between humans and automated systems increases the importance of safety and responsibility aspects in case of failures or unexpected occurrences. That is an interesting argument against technology. Well, not against technology, but the slowing down of technology, like a political aspect is... Well, that is done, but not always. Not enough. Right. The safety issue. I forget about it like all the time. Nodonor pointed it out about the truckers, right? It being dangerous. Yeah, the bigger and more things that the machine do, the more dangerous it might explode. Right. Organizational issues should be strengthened where different opinions are available. Wait. Organizational issues should be strengthened where different options are available. Didn't get that thing. Right. Organizational models capable of achieving flexibility in complex framework conditions are those that combine advanced automated systems with human participation in the decision-making process. Non-participative strategies usually lead to organizational inefficiencies. Exactly, that's kind of what I said. I can't imagine a society where there are no jobs. Machines just do the machine things, right? You need oversight to make sure they work and work as intended. And don't kill people. That's a job that probably exists, but it's gonna be way more since we're doing with the self-driving cars. There's probably gonna be monitoring human work. Just sit and look at maps. Like, think old GTA, right? The first GTA games where you just sit zoomed out looking at maps and cars driving and just studying, making sure that they are all doing everything as they should and there are no accidents and no... and maybe looking at reports, like bug reports that the cars give themselves, right? Monitoring. And yeah, that's probably a job that will happen, maybe. Right, the creation of new tasks and other technologies, raising the labor intensity of production and the labor share are vital for continued wage growth, commensurate with productivity growth. Wait, what does this mean? Creation of new tasks and other technologies, raising the labor intensity of production. Okay, sure. And the labor share are... Raising the labor intensity of production and the labor share are vital for continued wage growth. I don't see how they get to that. On the other hand, I'm not an economist, and something that always confuses me is... Well, not confuses me, but I understand kind of what it is like that. But interest, right? Interest requires wage growth. Inflation, sorry, inflation requires wage growth. I'm not convinced why we always need inflation. That's just how the economic system is built, and there's probably stuff to do, build around new, change how the economic system works, so deflation could be a thing. I don't know. I do not know. Ron Pruitt and Hire analyzed ergonomic risks and examined safety implications of HMI, human-machine interface. Also conceptual contributions from engineering and computer sciences found their way into the debate on automation and human work. I have to go. You know what? It's a little bit long and I'm feeling it's time for lunch. So I think that going through this list, that was a good ending spot, and we'll continue here tomorrow. Alright. So thanks for hanging out. Tomorrow, another day of muck. Yeah, muck. I'll play some muck and then continue reading. Have a good one, and yeah, thanks for hanging out. Cheers.